Canada. I just want to make members of the committee mindful of the time. We might not have time for questions. Good morning. You have 6 minutes for your presentation. If you could please state your name for the official record as you begin, and I'll just caution you, we might not have time for questions of you because under our standing orders we have to stop at 10:15.
Sure. Thank you very much for having me here to speak. My name is Maureen Aslin. I'm the Executive Director of End of Life Planning Canada. We're a national charity that helps Canadians navigate the end-of-life experience with confidence and dignity. We promote research and provide information, education, and support to help individuals and their families plan for a gentle and dignified death, and to navigate healthcare with confidence that their rights and preferences will be respected to the very end. End-of-Life Planning Canada is particularly focused on the needs of people who face systemic barriers to accessing care. People with low incomes, lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, queer seniors, and racialized people. It is those voices that we work to bring forward. Overall, we support Bill 84 and agree that protecting privacy for patients, immunity for physicians and nurse practitioners, and protecting the rights to benefits and insurance for survivors are good and necessary. But we do wish to express concern with two key issues. First, there is nothing in Bill 84 specifically about referral by physicians who are conscientious objectors to assisted dying. End-of-Life Planning Canada supports the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Ontario's effective referral policy, which requires physicians who conscientiously object to assisted dying to refer patients requesting MAID to another willing provider or agency. But even with this policy in place, we've heard of doctors refusing to provide a referral. This is precisely the time when, as a compassionate society, we should be offering support to allow the dying person the peaceful death and their loved ones the space to attend to the dying person and their own grief. Instead, this leaves patients and their families scrambling to find a willing provider to fulfill the person's request for MAID and alleviate the suffering of their loved one. To ask a dying person or their spouse, family, or friend who is in a state of anticipatory grief to exert this effort at this time, we feel is cruel and unnecessary. I'll ask you to take a moment and try to imagine being in a state of suffering so bad that death is an attractive alternative. Your ability to take care of your own needs is diminished, long gone. Your caregivers bathe, feed, and toilet you. The small things that gave you pleasure, like looking out the window, watching people walk down the street, seeing trees, the simplest things, is now not possible. You find visitors and people who once gave you joy exhausting. Your pain is not manageable, and the side effects of the medication make life unbearable. Your family is tired and sad, and you are worried about them and the toll that this is taking on them. You decide that enough is enough, that things will only get worse from here. But now you learn that your treating physician will not assist you in dying and suggests you find another doctor. Now imagine that same scenario as a frail LGBTQ senior in hospital with no family because the family is no longer speaking to them because they object to their homosexuality, and your friends have all predeceased you. How do you find a willing health provider? Do you go on Google? Not a likely thing. Self-referral mechanisms are essentially an abandonment of patients who are literally on their deathbeds. It is important to note that as physical and mental capacities diminish, the barriers to equity in care become more difficult to overcome. We think that CPSO's effective referral policy does a good job of upholding both patient and doctor's rights, and we hope that this continues to be the standard. In addition, we think that physicians should be required to make their conscientious objector status publicly known so that patients can have this information as they look for a physician, or if they are already a patient and they do not know this information in advance. Second, the involvement of the coroner's office presents other social difficulties for people. People requesting MAID and their families will not know if there will be an investigation until after the death is reported to the coroner. This creates a barrier in that many people may be reluctant to expose their family to that additional stress in the midst of one of the most difficult times in their lives when they are grieving their loved ones. My understanding is that the cause of death listed on the death certificate is suicide, and also from a family perspective, this adds a burden of stigma. To avoid this, we suggest that there be a different practice that is enacted. I'd like to close with a quote from Stephen Levine, who is an American poet, author, and teacher best known for his work on death and dying over many years. A death in character is a death with dignity. It is important that we acknowledge that there are as many ways to die as there are humans, and that choice, up until our final breath, gives meaning and dignity to our lives. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Given the time, we do not have time for questions of you. If you do want to submit something in writing to the clerk, you may do so until 6 p.m. on Thursday, March 30th. If there's no other items of business, committees recessed until 2 p.m. this afternoon.